Everybody knows in the Philippines that Toyota is the #1 car company in the Philippines. Everybody knows that they've got 1,000,001 products underneath their roof. But becoming #1, well, was not an overnight thing. It's not as if they went to the boardroom, had a little powwow and decided, let's put a couple of these cars together and let's just sell them out in the market. No. A lot of it comes from a lot of hard work, a lot of research, a lot of asking the customers and fulfilling the customers' needs. Now, one such car of fulfilling the customers' needs and filling a segment that they have just recently discovered is the Toyota Veloz. Now, the Veloz is an Avanza and not an Avanza at the same time. Okay, look. The Veloz used to be the top-of-the-line Avanza. Now, what Toyota has done is that it stands alone because they've figured a particular segment in the market that they can fulfill. Now, that segment is those that want an Avanza in the close price range of the Avanza but have just a little bit more money and want something a little premium feel, a little premium look. And truth be told, that's exactly what we have in this particular product. Now, on this very quick walk around, well, I hope it's going to be a quick walk around, I'll go through some of the exterior, the interior, hopefully we'll go for a bit of a drive, and then I'll also add 5 cool things that I did not expect from a Toyota or the Veloz in that manner. Do you need help purchasing your car insurance? Head on over to AutoDeal.com.ph/car-insurance. Here, you can compare prices and customize your insurance coverage from many of the Philippines' top providers. When you've selected the insurance that's best for you, simply fill out the application and complete the transaction with ease through Visa, MasterCard, GCash, GrabPay, or PayPal, and receive your policy within the next business day. Get the best deal on insurance with AutoDeal. Before anything else, prices, which are very important. Now, the top-end Avanza, when we're comparing it to, because it's an Avanza but not an Avanza, you catch my drift. But the top-end Avanza, wow, son, comes in at 1,039,000 Philippine pesos. Now, the entry-level Avanza, or rather Veloz, sorry, I get them confused, comes in at 1,185,000 Philippine pesos. Now, for this top end, it's 1,225,000 Philippine pesos. So you're looking at almost a difference of 190,000 Philippine pesos for the difference between those two, meaning the top-of-the-line Avanza and this Veloz. That's not even including the additional 15,000 Philippine pesos that you need to pay when you get this particular color. So the thing is, what are the difference? On the front clip, it's aggressive like the Avanza. It's also got slim headlamps, but these are all LEDs with sequential turn signals, mind you, and a much, much larger grille. Now down below, it's a trifecta of colors really. You've got a white as the body color, and then it's got a black grille, and then a silver for skid plate. Down the side, you've got 17-inch wheels wrapped in Bridgestone Turanzas, which are, by the way, 50 series. Now, there's also a single chrome trim running down the length of the car, repeaters on the side mirrors, roof rails up on top, and it looks, well, parang nakaset up na siya, don't you think? Oh, with disc brakes all around, too. Down the rear, you've got a shark's fin antenna found up on top, somewhat of a spoiler here that adds to its sportiness. Your wiper here. This is actually pretty cool. This is a light that turns on and it spans the entire width of the automobile. It's very cool. I always like these cars. It's very European in nature, actually. But obviously, the configuration is very slim. The door is similar. I'm sure you've seen that door before. You've got reflectors on either side and then just one exhaust found here. When you open her up, just like the Avanza, it's not a lot of space, enough to carry, look, these 2 bags really, and perhaps just a little bit more height. That's obviously when the third row is in play. More space, obviously, when you fold that. When you take these bags out, underneath you'll find, this is where the knot of the spare tire, you loosen this up and then the spare tire. You're right, Jack. It's a nut, not a knot. As in, I am not buying you lunch today. Thanks for wasting everybody's time. So anyway, the tools are here, and then you've got your Veloz plate. Okay. That takes care of the exterior, really. Let's go inside. Let's start with the third row. Ingress and egress into the rear, or the third row, is actually quite easy thanks to a chair that tumbles. I have set the space of this to somewhere in the middle, so it's comfortable for the second row and trying to be as comfortable for the third row as much as possible, even when you lean back. And really, that's about all the space that you have. Now, it's well worth noting that the seats right here are actually pretty upright. I haven't moved them since I showed you the space at the rear. So if I were to get in a position where it's actually more comfortable, that would diminish the space in the rear. But the third passenger, or rather the sixth and seventh passenger, would be just a little bit more comfortable if you, like I said, diminish the space at the rear. That is how you maximize the space for the trunk. This is how you maximize the space for the passenger. Knee room is, I'm looking at maybe about 2.5, 3 inches at most. The floor is actually lower, which is nice, so that means that taller people should be able to fit back here. Better maybe for, as I always say, smaller people and for short jaunts. Toys back here include cup holders on either end and a 12-volt socket for the third passenger. I'm not sure if that was available in the Avanza. I don't think so. So yes, and the air, so long as the person sitting in front of you isn't 10 feet tall, you will be able to feel it back here. Let's move on to the second row by tumbling this seat. There you go. I get out. I put this back down. And for the benefit of the camera, I'm going to move this down. Thanks, Jack. Maybe I will buy you lunch. Not. If I move into a position where you are seated comfortably, that's actually a little... See, this is my leg room for when there's just about enough space for the third row. So it's actually still pretty decent. Again, I'm not the tallest person on the planet, but I think it's pretty decent. That I moved it forward too. So yes, fitting 7 passengers in here shouldn't be an issue when it comes to squeezing them in. Now, elbow room, that actually might be a little bit of a compromise to some of the passengers, because I am a small to average sized person. I'm already eating space up of the third passenger in the center. So 3 of you in here might be an issue. For the passenger in the middle, it's actually okay. It's not the softest for your back, but I guess when you need to, because the Veloz does give you the capacity to hold 7 people inside. So if need be, then yes, it's not going to be bothersome for at least, you can ride in here for about an hour, hour and a half before actually complaining, which is actually pretty impressive. Toys back here include a cup holder found here in the center. That's just one, I guess, for the third passenger, because there are cup holders and bottle holders on either door. Not just for a bottle down here, but you can actually put a bottle up here too, which is actually pretty cool. Much like the previous Veloz, or rather the Avanza, there were like 21 cup holders. How many are there in here? There's 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. There's like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. There's 17 in here. That's quite a lot. Anyway, sorry, back to the toy. So there's a cup holder in the center, cup holders on either door, and 2 2.1 ampere USB charging points, which that's very nice. And then the air vents up front, although it's not temperature controlled, it's just air controlled. Your knob is here, and then these are flaps that come down to control the direction of the air, much like the Avanza. Let's move on to the front seats before we get to the engine. Up in the driver's seat, the first thing I noticed that there's a lot, and I do mean a lot, of textures found inside this automobile. Like for instance, up here is one type of texture. Then this is yet another type of texture. Then when you move down, this is yet another type of texture. And then this is another type of texture before this texture is similar to that up on top. And then there's two-tone seats. And then on the door, there's still even more texture, like faux carbon fiber. There is a lot going on here. Not to a point where it's too busy. It's busy, but it's not too busy that it's distracting. What it actually does is that it makes you really feel like they've tried to uprate the Avanza as best as they can, which is why they decided to name the Veloz as is, make it stand alone kind of a thing. And truthfully, I think it can do a good job of doing that. Here, the instrument cluster is an all-digital affair. It's quite wide with a speedometer on the right and a nice huge tachometer in the center. Then your infotainment display, which is actually also quite large, it looks much better than that of the Avanza, and it seems like it's like a tablet that was positioned very, very well. It's got Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, and even some vehicle information that's telling you like what the pitch of the automobile is, outside temperature, water temperature, not of the ocean, but of the car, and then voltage and stuff like that. That's very nice. You've got buttons on your steering wheel. However, there is no cruise control in this guy, but you do have a lot of buttons like to control the trip, and then this controls your audio. Drive modes, you can go with power or eco. Your air controls are actually quite simple. Start stop button, and then automatic park, you've got a hold button and a electronic parking brake. The thing though is not everything in here is peachy, in the sense that number one, there is a lot of piano blacks, and I do mean a lot, in areas that you are going to touch a lot and areas that you could scratch. So that might get old really, really quick. Another is I found that there is no cruise control in this guy, but there is a button here on the left-hand side, which it looks like it's, what do you call this? Pre-collision alert warning, right? And when I turn it on or off, the odd thing is what comes out is lane keep assist. Well, the image of lane keep assist. And I found that just a little bit odd. But everything else is actually pretty good, because there's more in here than what you would find inside, let's say, for example, the Avanza. And the touch of, or rather the feel of the seats also is quite different. Oh, and another thing that I found that isn't too peachy is the fact that the USB ports are found very far away from the driver. It's great for the passenger, but it's here. And these look like the, it's a 2.1 ampere port, and then this looks like it's where you plug in for your Android Auto or your Apple CarPlay, because both are obviously not wireless. So it's a bit far. Again, those are one of the three things that I found isn't so peachy in here. But stay tuned, because obviously I did find 5 very cool things that I like about the Veloz. But before we go to that, let's check out the engine. Now, what you're looking at is a 1.5-liter gasoline engine mated to a CVT that produces 105 horses and 138 Nm of torque. Now, if those figures sound very familiar to you, it's because, well, it's exactly the same as the Avanza. It's even front-wheel drive like the Avanza, which basically just really makes sense for Toyota. The fuel consumption is also most likely going to be exactly the same. Hindi pa po ko matamis. Tapos, sandali lang po. Sorry, somebody was trying to rush us. Before we go to drive, let's go through the 5 things that I said that are really, really cool, that are very it's not like Toyota is what I'm trying to get. I don't even know why I'm trying to say that word, but 5 cool things that I did not think that Toyota would incorporate in a car, especially of this size and at this price point. Come, I'll show you. Unlike the Toyota Fortuner, but much like the Avanza, the third row falls absolutely flat, which is pretty darn cool. It doesn't fold to the side, it doesn't tumble over. The amount of space that you have is awesome. And that is one cool thing that I really love about the Veloz/Avanza. Now, I'm gonna start saying that. Veloz, just the Veloz. So that's one cool thing. Number 2 is the size of the rear door, which means that the opening is so much bigger that getting in for the second row and getting in for the third row is so much easier. Number 3 is something that I would expect only in more premium automobiles, definitely not a Veloz, is that it's got a wireless charger. Check this out. And not only does it have a wireless charger, but it's also good for phones of my size, which is a Note 8. I'm just saying that so it's a comparison to everybody else. But it fits in most wireless chargers. It doesn't actually fit in that area. That, I think, is actually pretty darn cool. Number 4 are the quarter windows. See, the A-pillars may be massive to an extent because of the size of the car, but these A-pillars, or these windows by the A-pillar, really do help a lot when it comes to visibility. That's cool. I love that. And the last, but certainly not the least, is the fact that this is a Toyota, and not only does it have a reverse camera, but it also has a 360-degree view. Huh? How do you like that? And I can even change the view with a button on the steering wheel. Isn't that awesome or what? In a Toyota. How do you like them apples? Let's go for a drive. So a few quick impressions, immediate impressions on the Veloz. One is I noticed that although it is comfortable to drive and the steering is actually quite easy, it's light. I mean, it's really light. It's closer to like driving a Ford Everest. That's how light it is. Like a child could play with this. The thing though is that I noticed not when you're on a turn, but when you're on a straight, that the steering wheel doesn't necessarily want to go back into the center, so to speak. So if it's a little bit, let's say, to the right, it will stay there the whole time. Normally there's a draw of somewhat for the steering wheel to come into the center. Obviously you'll feel it when you're at a turn and you make a U-turn and you're full locked, and then eventually the steering wheel will straighten out. Here it does the same way on a full turn and a full lock, but when you're on a straight, there is no there is no pull to get back into the center. So there is a lot of, let's say, input that you have to do as a driver. But because the steering wheel is so light, then really it's not an issue. Look at it, this thing is so light. It's easy to drive. Torque, there definitely is at lower speeds, and when you kick it in, yeah, the torque, you can feel it. In fact, it can actually get even jolty in the small amount of traffic situations that we've gone into. However, I guess the big question is, it's obviously just me and Jack inside the car right now. So what would it be like if there were 7 passengers in here? Truthfully, 7 passengers inside the city, slower drives, I think it's possible. It can definitely do it. When it comes to longer drives, let's say you're on the highway, this is obviously a CVT. You've got only 100 few plus horses, so I don't know if it can do it at a pace that you would feel safe on the highway. So I don't think that long trips out of town with 7 passengers, I'm not very confident of that. And Baguio, that Tito question, no, Jack, we're
Baguio?
not. No, we're not. Relax. It's okay. We're not going back to Baguio. You can calm down. I don't know if I've got the full confidence to say that the car will make it with 7 people up to Baguio. I don't know that. Fuel consumption figures, I guess we can base it on the Avanza as well, because after all, not just the same platform, but it's also the exact same engine. So whatever fuel consumption figures we get there with the new Avanza, when we do get our hands on it, we can apply it in this particular car as well. I'm sorry if it was kind of an inside joke where I told Jack that we wouldn't do Baguio. It's because, well, we took a pair of Corolla Crosses, a hybrid and a non-hybrid, to Baguio for a really cool fuel economy run. And, well, I don't want to spoil the video for you, and I'm not sure if the video actually has come out when this video comes out, but for sure, when it does come out, we'll definitely put the link in the description below. And to make matters easier, just simply subscribe to our channel so that you don't miss out on any of our videos. Oh, and one cool thing that we noticed, well, because we are in a parking structure that's actually very dark, like the older Innovas, this thing has some pretty cool accent lights. Check it out. And it's on the doors too. Can you see it? That's pretty cool. That's nice, I like that. So I guess the biggest question really is it worth it? Is it worth the extra almost 190,000 Philippine pesos that you're going to be paying over the top of the line Avanza? Because, like I said, this thing comes in at 1,225,000 Philippine pesos. Well, you've got so much more in this car, don't you? You've got disc brakes all around. You've got more tech inside, in the sense of the Toyota Safety Sense. And then you've got those cool features that I pointed out that aren't necessarily available, all of them rather, on the Avanza. And besides the fact that Toyota is trying to market the Veloz as something completely on its own, by itself. The Avanza is more of an MPV. They're trying to make it sort of like a compact SUV. And then the competitors up against this thing would be the likes of the Suzuki XL7. So there's a big gap there, so to speak. It's not exactly closer to an Innova, no, quite far from. I mean, this is a gasoline engine. But truth be told, if you want something more than just an Avanza and not to the point where you're going to spend all that money for, what am I trying to get at? Innova, thank you very much, Joey. This might be a pretty good middle ground. And if you want to see it in the flesh, do log on to AutoDeal.com.ph where we can connect you to the closest dealers to you where an Avanza, or rather, sorry, a Veloz is actually available. Forgive me for that. I'm still trying to get used to it. Thanks for watching, everyone. Stay safe. We'll see you soon. You didn't correct me, Joey.